Hello everyone, it's Barb here, your favorite longtime professional home care personal support worker, union steward and certified member and co-chair of a couple of joint health and safety committees. This video is going to be about fatigue impairment. This one's been on my list to make, but I haven't been able to do it until now. And why have I chosen now? Because at this point, at just about 0600 on September 1st, I am extremely fatigue impaired. You can probably see it in my face. I'm looking and I see my eyes are puffy and they're half closed. They are burning. I feel like I have 150,000 pounds of weight pulling my face. My brain is scattered. I haven't been able to focus on any one thing for very long through the night. As you may or may not know, I work in hospice, and that is people receive a life-ending diagnosis and they wish to die in their own homes. So what I do is I go in through the night and I give the families a break. I'm always in a state of vigilance. If I hear them stirring, I think, oh, are they going to call for me? Are they waking up? Do they need something? I'm always ready to go, so I have to be alert all the time. And how I do that is by keeping a very rigid schedule. I go to bed at about 11-ish. Takes me a little bit to fall asleep. I get my 7 to 8 hours, and I'm perfectly good to go in for my night shift. In the state I'm in, I know I can't work that way. And I knew I had to cancel last night's shift. I cannot go to work fatigue impaired because I may not catch the cues from a patient. And heaven forbid if I fall asleep, that could be really dangerous. My shifts are not sleep shifts. We are not to sleep on the job. How I came to be in the state I'm in is I'm certified in health and safety. Part of my job means that when I receive a critical injury report, I have to get together with my management counterpart and we have to investigate. Well, I received a call yesterday about an hour and a half before I was supposed to go to bed. And I knew that by the time I got up there, we did the investigation. By the time I got home, I would have been up for 20 hours. And then I had 4 hours in which to get sleep before I had to go out and work. And I knew that wasn't going to work. So I called and canceled my shift. And I was right. By the time I came home, I'd been up for 20 hours. And I received 3 hours of sleep. And I have been up since then. At this time, at 0600 on September 1st, I've had 3 hours of sleep out of 34. My body and mind are screaming at me to go to bed right now, but I can't. Because if I try to get some sleep right now, it's going to mess up my sleep for when I'm supposed to have my sleep. So I'm very glad that I canceled the shift, that I know myself well enough to know that like this, I would not be able to work. I would not be able to be at my best where I must be at my best all the time. Fatigue impairment is a problem that's been growing for quite some time, and they're just starting to recognize it in recent years. I'm going to give you some statistics. Normally, I would just relay them, but because I'm so scatterbrained, I can't do it. I was trying to do things through the night to keep me awake, and it wasn't working because I was having trouble focusing. The first thing I'm going to read you is some stats from the CDC. In this information, they talk about how drowsy driving is similar to drunk driving. You can be at your best if you have the adequate amount of sleep every day. The less sleep you have, the harder it becomes to concentrate. It affects your coordination, your judgment, and your reaction time, especially dangerous when you're driving. Here's a couple of points, very important. Number 1, and I'm going to read from the CDC site. Being awake for at least 18 hours is the same as someone having a blood alcohol content of 0.05%. Being awake for at least 24 hours is equal to having a blood alcohol content of 0.10%, which is higher than the legal limit in all states, which is 0.08, and that's the same limit in Ontario. So right now, having been up 33 hours, only having 3 hours of sleep in that time, and by the time I do get to sleep, I'll have had only 3 hours of sleep in about 40 hours. I'm over the limit in a big way. I'm just far down the road and gone around the bend. Now, here's the thing. It's not just about me being on the job. It's also about my driving. Lowered reaction times. I'm going to give you some statistics here. This is from the Traffic Injury Research Foundation. It's called The Facts About Fatigued Driving in Ontario, a Guidebook for Police. Now, they've got a stat in here that I found really horrifying. They'd asked police officers what was it that led them to think that fatigue was a factor in the accidents that they have seen. And they answered that it was the driver admitting to being fatigued in 93.2% of the cases. 93.2%. Wow, that's huge. And this was done in 2009. So I'm wondering, are the numbers the same or have they gotten worse? If you've been in an accident and they are able to show that you have been fatigued by, say, you admitting it, there's other ways they can tell as well. The type of accident, for example. There are 3 ways they can charge you. Number 1, dangerous driving. Number 2, criminal negligence, or impaired driving, because you are impaired just by fatigue. So those are the way you can be charged. And frankly, with the kind of work I do, living where I live, I cannot be without my car. I cannot afford my insurance to be any higher than it is. And here's another thing. You can be charged criminally, but depending on the accident and the damage that's done, if you've injured or killed a person, you can run the risk of having civil suits brought against you. So you need to be careful. If you are constantly fatigued, you may need to talk to your supervisor about cutting back a little bit, because you're no good to anyone if you become injured or killed in an accident caused by you falling asleep behind the wheel or someone else falling asleep behind the wheel. As for me, I'm not going anywhere. I do not trust myself to drive like this, and I will not drive like this. And then I will have my 7 to 8 hours and will wake up refreshed, and I can go out and do my job tonight knowing I'm at my best. So I'm going to leave you with my usual sign off. I would like you to stay healthy, stay safe, follow protocols, get the vaccine if you can, unless you have a valid medical reason as to why you cannot. Woo. And stay hydrated, and I'll see you on the flip side.